so yeah, and then just slowly but surely, I'm kind of getting myself a little bit more settled out here. There's a bunch of stuff in the pipeline, and but I'll have to come back for Christmas because my mum and dad will kill me if I don't come back soon.
This podcast is about you and your journey in music, and we'll talk about Losers, obviously, and the new EP you have.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Do you mind touching on the other projects you've been in at all? I mean, I know it's part of your story. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, first off, why don't you talk to me about where were you born and raised? You said you're in America now, right?
Yes, currently in LA. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, but I was from the northeast of England originally, Sunderland. I was born in Sunderland back in 1980 or something, and but yeah, Sunderland's my hometown football team, soccer team. We're terrible, but I love them. And I was sort of cut my teeth in music in Newcastle, and then I went to Cardiff for a bit. Then I was in London. Technically, I'm meant to be in Berlin now, but I sort of got stuck in America during the pandemic, so I'm still here.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right
Yeah.
on. Well, what was it like growing up? Like, I mean, were you in were you born and raised? Were you there for a while?
Yeah, I guess so. I went to all the way up to second year of university, which I think I was about 21. I became an art school dropout. But yeah, grew up, went to school and all that in the northeast of England. And university, I went to Northumbria University in Newcastle. I was studying fine arts sculpture for a couple of years, and then my first band sort of took off. So I went off, and now I'm in America. I had planned on going back to finish my degree, but it never quite worked out that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, what was the first instrument you learned?
It was actually keyboards. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, maybe the pots and pans that I used to get out of my parents' closet and just play the drums. So possibly a bit of percussion.
Uh-huh.
They said when I was a kid, I used to arrange the different pans and as a drum kit, and I would play about. So I was always kind of a bit musical, I think. And but yeah, Santa Claus got me a little Casio keyboard.
Cool.
You know, and early age I just started playing about with it. And there was a TV show in the UK called EastEnders, which is a long-running soap opera sort of thing. I don't know what it's comparable to. It's still going. I've never watched it, but my mum used to watch it. There's a theme tune from that, and I just started playing it. And my mum was like, "Oh, how are you doing that, Paul?" "Oh, just hearing it, and I'm just playing it." She was like,
Wow.
because they love music, but both my parents, and they still do. And I was surrounded by music all the time, you know, being played, but they didn't play any instruments. So, and then to my memory, the next step was in the local shopping mall in Washington. There was an organ center, you know, like a kind of 2-tier bass pedals, volume pedals. You've got your beat bank and all the different sounds. So they got me one of them because it was just like, well, let's try it out.
Wow.
And it was kind of one of the best instruments I could have started my musical journey on, because I instantly had a rhythm section on my right hand. I had the melody on my left hand, and the melody on my right hand. I had the bass pedals. I had a whole orchestra. I could see how a song was put together. So it wasn't just a flat thing with the piano. You know, obviously you get the bass in the high end, but this was like, for my mind, it was good because I had rhythm, melody, bass pedals on the floor. I had a volume control. I had loads of different sounds to play with. I mean, it was kind of a cheap thing. But it's great. And I instantly knew how a song, at a very early age, how a song was kind of constructed and what worked best and how to blend in things. And it was just the store that was kind of closest to us, and they were like, okay, let's get one of these. And yeah, I really thank them for that.
Sure. Wow. How long did you play that for? Or do you still play piano?
I wish I still had that. I took it to this. Yeah, I play a bit. I mean, I'll kind of play everything if I get a chance to.
Sure.
So yeah, but I don't have the organ. I wish I had it still. We used it on a bunch of the Milo stuff. Just we had it in the studio. But yeah, I think we got rid of it because it was just sitting in my parents' place. And
Okay.
You know. it's a big thing. So
Sure.
probably going to a good home. I got my use out of it for sure, and it needed to go somewhere else so someone else could learn and have fun with it. You know.
Amazing.
Hmm.
Amazing. So you played that through what? Through high school and through school? When did you
Yeah.
play?
So
When did you start like
I,
writing songs? You said pretty early on.
I think so. Yeah. I just started. I was kind of self-taught a bit. So from that, I ended up just picking up a guitar. My cousin was playing a bit, and so I just being left-handed as well, I just found it easy just to kind of try and figure stuff out myself, or sometimes I play upside down because there was always a right-handed guitar
Uh-huh.
available at someone's place. So there was that. So that started quite early on. So I guess I was playing like keyboards, organ till around 14, 13 or 14 maybe. But in between that, yeah, maybe about 13, I started to pick up a guitar. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I played clarinet a bit at school as well. There was lessons for that, so I did a bit of that, which is kind of fun when you learn to play something like that, because it's not the nicest sound when you can mess up a couple of the
Right. That's funny that
yeah.
I
You
put
know.
that was the instrument I picked up when I was in 5th grade. I never kept going
Uh-huh.
with it, but you know, you have the orchestra class, they let you pick between that or a saxophone or flute or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
the kid, I knew a kid in the grade higher than me, and it was like you'd go in 4th grade and kind of see the instruments to see if you found something you want to play. And he
Hmm.
stuck his whole mouth over the mouthpiece and just blew into it, and it made the most obnoxious sound. I was like, that
Yeah,
is the instrument
that's
I want to learn how to
that's the
play.
one. Yeah.
But it
Great,
was
yeah.
kind of a hassle. I had to read and all that stuff. You
Hmm.
know, you had to
Oh yeah.
get with,
Your
but
cheeks would be just like so sore afterwards, just keeping it, got to keep it like this, blow it like this. It
yeah.
doesn't feel natural. Are we having fun? I'm not sure.
Right,
Yeah, you get
right.
one note out of it and you're like, yeah, all right, let's call it a day.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. So you picked
Hmm.
up a guitar. I mean, playing as a lefty, you said
Mm.
you probably had to obviously go out and buy yourself a guitar because everyone else was probably playing a righty guitar.
Yeah, well,
And
just been restrung, upside down. So just my dad's friend had an old like Encore kind of crappy guitar thing, but restrung it. There wasn't too many knobs and buttons on the side where it would normally be on the bottom, so I couldn't bash it with my left
oh,
hand, left
sure.
arm. I mean, I've tried that with Jaguar guitars, and they look great, but there's just too many knobs and switches to hit when you're playing, and then it just goes all to pot. Um, so yeah, so I actually I yeah learned straight off left-handed, and I tried after a while because to go right-handed, restrung everything back to right-handed, I guess, because you go to a music shop and you can. I was in Guitar Center yesterday in on Sunset, and it's like 1%, 2% of the guitars I can actually
Right. You
look
can
at
pick
by,
up,
there's
right?
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that, but um, and I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get the changeover from the rhythm, and so right-handed here. It actually made sense for me, I think, from starting to play piano and keyboards first, that the left hand is the rhythm hand,
Hmm.
and then the melodic hand is the right hand. So if you just transfer that to left-handed guitar, this is rhythm and this is melody. So it was just it kind of
Makes
made sense to me
sense.
anyway.
Sure.
Yeah,
It's interesting
but
because the Chris Rowe from the Ataris, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see
I
them play. He
okay, no,
he plays lefty, but I think he learned so much. I've never asked him, but I think he learned on a righty guitar the same way. So
mhm.
he plays. I think he plays on an upside down righty guitar still. Like so,
Mhm.
when he makes a power chord, he's kind of like
Yeah,
upside
yeah, it's
down,
upside
and
down. Uh-huh.
yeah, but it's interesting to watch him play because it's like his brain had to probably just totally. I'm sure he couldn't show anyone how to play guitar. I'm sure because it would just be so
No, no,
confusing.
yeah, yeah, it's great, but the good thing about playing upside down as well is you do get these interesting shapes, and I like to have some open tunings as well, so you can, yeah, you and finger picking as well, getting a bit more of acoustic stuff. I've been out in the desert for a year now, so I figured it'd be a nice time to pick up an acoustic guitar,
Yeah.
surrounded by Joshua trees, and try and do stuff. So I've been doing a bit of that. So finger picking is really interesting upside down, because you get
Hmm.
these weird shifts in where the bass note would probably normally be on your thumb is
Hmm.
actually on your little finger, or your wedding ring, or whatever you call it, wedding finger. So it just shifts it a bit. It sounds unusual, and I like that. I like anything that's
Yeah, you
unusual,
can come up with some pretty cool notes, I'm sure, and chords
Hmm.
that you wouldn't other than, you know, knowing how to
Exactly.
do it that way. It'd be like, oh, this sounds pretty
Exactly.
rad and weird, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
definitely. Hmm.
Awesome. So you learned guitar, you're learning guitar. When did you start your first band? Were you at art school at this point?
No, it would have been at secondary school still.
Okay.
So I'd have been maybe 15, 16. And we were doing a bunch of covers, you know. I think the bass player obviously was into Red Hot Chili Peppers, so I know we did a bunch of them because it's got to slap that bass, you know. When you're
Sure.
16, it's all you want to do. Uh, Luckily, I haven't had to experience much of that since, but Chili Peppers are good, but just too much slapping the bass. It's not my anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 16, 15, 16, you know, just doing a bunch of covers. I was obviously left-handed, so Nirvana was a huge influence. So we would, you know, we try and do. I was very much influenced in the American side of music. You know,
Mhm.
got into Pearl Jam and yeah, obviously Nirvana and Sonic Youth. So yeah, and then just started playing the local arts center in Washington. Um, Managed to get into a studio quite early on, and just yeah, just and but started writing original material like pretty much from the start as well.
Wow.
Something
Okay.
that uh and actually fell into the role of being a singer because I didn't want to be. I didn't. I was going to be the singer until we got a singer, you know,
Oh, okay. It's kind of a
in the first band.
placeholder that ended up
Yeah,
being
okay,
a full-time
yeah.
thing.
I'll sing now just until we get like a proper singer in, so we can, you know, then I can just keep playing guitar, whatever. But then we just never got a singer, and then I've just been doing it for the
Ever
rest of my
since.
life. So yeah, yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Hmm.
And then when you go to art school for music, or did you go for a fine art?
And yeah, well, I always felt like I didn't want to kind of study music in a way. I didn't want to know too much about it.
Mhm.
I wanted to just like explore it on my own terms, I think. And I also wanted it to be a hobby. I wanted to love it. So I thought then for some reason in my mind, it's studying it would make it more of a job and my like, you know, it would put it in a different
Yeah.
bracket. I always wanted it to be kind of magical and
Right.
mystical in a way, and just sort of like this total world of discovery. And obviously that you're like, well, Paul, you should have just studied it and then you would have found out. I'm like, yeah, but you
No,
know,
but I see that because it's like you didn't want to make, like you said, make it a job, and then you're like, I don't really even want to play this thing anymore because I'm just so sick of it. Like it
yeah,
almost like you, yeah.
you're constantly in that world, and it's I mean, so and I love doing art. I love making pieces and painting and whatever. So I just thought, okay, no, I'll go this route, and I'll always have the music, and I can kind of keep that on the side and enjoy that as like a spare thing or whatever. But then the band I joined, your code name is Milo. We sort of started to take off. We got really busy. We got signed. We were doing sessions, and the art thing was then put on, and then the music became a job. And you know, it was um, still discovering about music, I guess, to this day. I suppose everyone does, but yeah, I always wondered if I should have just gone straight down the music route, you know, and really gone all armbands off in the deep end. But I don't know. It seems to be okay so far.
Yeah, it looks like it worked out. So your code name is Milo started when you're in school, or did you join their band? Like how did that band form?
They were like a four-piece instrumental kind of post-rock um band, and I knew the bass player, and I knew a bass player, drummer, and guitarist from rehearsing in the same area. So and played a bunch of gigs and whatever. But yeah, I met them at it was at Soul Wax. Too many DJs and Felix the House Cat were playing in Newcastle.
Oh wow.
We had a couple of drinks. Yeah, it was a great night. They did it. Yeah, the setup was amazing. But I saw Adam and Ross from Milo there, and they were like, "Look, we've got this band together. I think we should come down and sing." So okay, I'll come in, and I got some demos. They were super scratchy, and I went in. And then I met Justin for the first time. He shoved a microphone in front of my face and went, "He's from Don." He's like, "Hey, sing on that, sing on that." I'm like, "Well, okay, right." Sang on it. Just like, okay, well, I thought we are just going to go through a bunch, but I'm recording now. Great. Sent it
Oh
off, and
wow.
yeah, set within on the first session, and then we got from that we got a John Peel session, which is like a BBC. You know, he was the
Yeah.
kind of he
Tastemaker
from those
type.
yeah, I mean, so it was like, what? Okay, we hadn't even played a show yet, but from those demos, it just kind of got involved, and I picked up the guitar. I was just singing in that band as well to start with, and then yeah, the John Peel session. We did a bunch of shows. We a bunch of management sniffing about and labels, and yeah, it all happened so fast, really. And that was from I guess 2003 to 2007 or 2008.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
And then we
love the
went out.
sound
Yeah.
of that band, or I love the sound of that band.
Thanks. Oh, cool.
I
Thanks.
mean, it
Yeah.
has that like, Cave In is like one of my favorite bands, and it reminds me of Cave In a little
Right.
bit.
Hmm.
And then like At the Drive-In, just kind of like that. Not to compare you, but like it just gives
Hmm.
me that same feeling when I listen to
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah, great. That's I mean at the track. That's huge. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, saw them back in 2000 and recent. Well, not so recent, but in Berlin. And that energy, yeah, they're fantastic. And I think the good things about those bands is like those records still, like Relationship of Command by Other Driving still stands up as like a unique sounding record, you know.
Uh-huh.
And it's like still stands up 20 years later, 21 years later or something. When was that? 2000?
Yeah, 2000, I think.
2001?
And that was
2001
like not
maybe?
even, that was when they I think that was their major label record, right? Or didn't they get signed
Hmm.
to a major label on that one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, and
Um,
then Jupiter is the album from Cave In that I love. I mean, that album is so awesome.
yeah, yeah, great. What's the Perfect Pitch Black or something? Or there's another one. Oh,
Oh,
Pitch
Antenna
Black.
is a good one. Oh, which one are you talking
Antenna's
about?
good. There's a
Uh,
one later on.
Let
Is
me
it
look it up now. Now I
per,
want to
per,
know.
Perfect Pitch
Oh,
Black or
Perfect Pitch
something?
Black. Okay,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. I was getting it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was had some great tunes. I got into them like I got after the Milo thing because people were like, "Oh, you sound like such and sound like this," and
Oh,
Hot
really? So
Snakes.
you,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah,
Hot Snakes is from San Diego. That's where I'm originally
yeah,
from.
yeah. Right, yeah. One of my favorite bands now, but they were like, "Oh, there's moments you sound like Hot Snakes." Like, oh, what? They were actually the last band I saw live in Berlin before I came out to America last year.
Really?
So yeah, I love that band so much. Yeah. So nice. Yeah, yeah,
That's
San Diego guys.
that's
Hmm.
cool. That's awesome.
But I
Um,
loved the driving that sort, and I think that's what we did with Milo. I mean, the first thing was with Albini, and then the first album was with Flood. And we just got into the studio, and we just created a nice kind of, I hope, unique sound that I still love that record to this day. You know, I still think it kind of stands up. It has some nice moments. So
oh, totally,
yeah.
totally does.
Mhm.
So you did that for what, about 4 years or so, and then
About 5 years, I think.
four or
Yeah,
five
about five
years,
years.
and
Yeah.
then is that when you left to do automatic, or like, or just kind of did
Well,
like
we
you did went on like a hiatus or something there?
Yeah, we just felt it was time. We released They Came From the Sun, and did a
Hmm.
tour, and it just felt like it was, it was time just to like put it on a break for a bit. Just, we've been doing it for 5 years, and it's living out of each other's pockets, kind of tough. I mean, I had the most amazing time, but we just felt it was right to like just take a breather, take stock, um and then so the automatic thing happened kind of a few months after that. Really, there was no real plan
Hmm.
from my end. I just wanted to have a bit of a break as well,
Hmm.
um, and then because the automatic had come up to our studio in Newcastle, we did this collaborations record called Print is Dead with Milo, where members of the other bands would come up for a day and we'd record and mix a song within 10 hours,
Oh,
which
wow.
was knocked about 10 years off my life, but it was a lot of fun doing.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yes, and the idea was we'd try and create something. I mean, maybe you'll come in with a riff. It'd normally come with the guest that would come in to the
Hmm.
studio. They say, "I've got this idea. I want to explore with you guys," and we'd make a band out of the musicians that were there. We thought, well, okay. For example, the field music, there was like marimbas, and Martin Grech had the baritone guitar that he just wanted to play loads on, and we had Ruben, and automatic came up, and yeah, so that was the first connection, and we had mutual friends within the industry or whatever, and just got a call saying, "Do you want to come down and hang with the guys?" It went really well with that Print is Dead collaboration. So, you want to see? And I started writing with them straight away the first day, and I had a track that was thought was a Milo track, but it never really worked out. Did it with
Mhm.
the automatic, and I was like, oh, this is exactly how I wanted to sound.
That's awesome.
Great. All right,
Yeah.
and then we sort of kind of did, and I did that for like 3 or 4 years, I think. Yeah. So
And
it's
I
great.
mean, Losers, the band we're should be talking about, or we'll be talking about here in a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Was you guys have been around for what, about 10 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I
So
didn't
it started.
realize that you had started that you know that it's been you've been doing stuff for that long. And like, tell me how how the project got together.
Well, it started with Tom and Eddie. It's sort of like a remix DJ
Uh-huh.
project. Tom had been in a really good band from the UK called Cooper Temple Claws,
Mm-hmm.
and they stopped probably just about a year before Milo did. It's like 2006 maybe, and I think then Tom and Eddy Temple-Morris was XFM DJs now at Virgin, and they just got together and they just hung out and started doing some remixes, yeah, for like the likes of Prodigy, and they but a bunch of other artists as well, and it just then that turned into them just writing some original material, and it worked really well. They started to form a band. I joined when I was staying with Tom in his place in North London. I needed a spot because I was finishing a record in London, split up with a girlfriend at the time, and was like
Mm-hmm.
needed somewhere to crash. So I had to be in London for another 3 or 4 weeks. On the last day of me staying with Tom, we decided to like, oh, we should try and write something. We did that, and it worked super well. It made the next Losers record, and I guess vocaled on a couple of live things, and then we just started writing. I ended up moving into the studio that he had in Manor House, again in North London, and we spent 5 years there, and that would have been in like 2011, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of came involved 2012. And then we moved to Berlin 2015 and just had a studio there. And we kind of, when we're in the same country, we're in the studio all the time, right? And a really good workflow. So yeah, we've been bubbling away, I guess, for quite some time.
Sure. I mean, yeah. And not only have you been doing that band, but you've always have multiple projects going on. That must be hard to kind of juggle all that, I'd imagine.
I went through a phase where I just said kind of yes to everyone that wanted me to do something, or just, if someone at the band came into the studio that Tom was recording, for example, I would be around helping engineer and setting up whatever, and then I'd end up playing on some guitars or just whatever, and then I'd join that band and then we'd do it, and it was great. I found it was quite exhausting, but I found a lot about myself, where I sat in a writer's room, or where I sat as a musician or as an artist, and how I would pull people in different directions, and how I like to be pulled in a different direction myself. And I really enjoy bouncing off different minds and just trying to get whatever vision it is across. And I love it when it really comes together. Sometimes it doesn't, but I've really found out who I was a lot more when I was doing all these different things, and I kind of like to be in that world as well still. So the Losers thing, I've got Young Legionnaire, which is kind of still active. The Milo thing is coming back.
Oh, cool.
We're gonna have some shows, so yeah. And then I'm doing a couple of solo things. I've been starting to play some open mic nights out in the desert. I'll do some more in LA whilst I'm here. Yeah, so just keeping busy, just spreading myself too thin, probably. Whatever.
Right on. Well, so you got out to LA, or now you're in Joshua Tree, and then the pandemic hit. Like, tell me about where you were when this all happened, because it sounds like you came out here for something, or maybe record something, and then you got stuck.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah. So I came out here the 20th of Feb last year, and I'd already seen what was happening in Europe and and China and stuff, and it's like okay.
Yeah, coming from there, I'm sure you guys are a bit more aware of what was going on. I mean, I don't know, it didn't really become national, I don't feel like, news until maybe the end of February, early March.
Yeah. No, it was definitely a thing back in Europe as well, and I could just see it being a delayed effect of like what's happening. Like the second wave would happen in UK or Europe, and then it would happen over here, and
Mm-hmm.
then it was just so the Delta variant. I saw that was all happening in the UK, and it's the cases sky, and now it's a thing, and it's a little. It's like literally a week or 2 weeks, and then it's like it happens in America,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I came over, yeah, mid to end February last year to do like some recording myself, and it was going to be pre-production work for a band that I work with out here to go back to Europe to tour. And then obviously that stopped. So we think, oh, we'll put it back a couple of months to tour, and I got set up with a nice little spot in like Pioneer Town actually, which is right by Joshua Tree, this old
Mm-hmm.
film set town that Roy Rogers built back in 1940. It's a crazy place. It's great. So yeah, just stayed out, and the tours got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and kind of ended up staying. I mean, there's so much space. It's beautiful out there. Being back in Berlin, I would have been in my studio. Go back in the north. I was just being very, very productive and writing a lot of stuff and getting a lot of stuff done. And mentally actually really helped me. I don't know whether because the pandemic everything was put on pause, so you don't have the fear of missing out, which I always found was a little bit tricky being in a vibrant city like Berlin where everything's happening and you sort of kind of get
Sure.
lost in it a bit. So when everything became on pause, I just felt like I was in a really good space mentally and could really take stock and focus kind of on myself and on my, what made me tick and what my goals were and everything like that. And I felt I was in a good spot for writing. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and then just slowly but surely, I'm kind of getting myself a little bit more settled out here. There's a bunch of stuff in the pipeline, but I'll have to come back for Christmas because my mum and dad will kill me if I don't come back soon. Yeah.
Well,
So
how
yeah,
did this new record come about? Were you guys writing it sounds like you're in different parts of the world, obviously. So was this something that you guys had together and recorded prior to the pandemic, or were you writing like over Zoom or sending files to each other? How did that work?
so like I said, like me and Tom were always in the studio just writing. So we had a bunch of tracks that were sort of sitting about. Some of them on this new EP, some of them have been around for 10, 12 years, some of them,
Wow.
the first demos. Um, so that, and when you're doing a record or an EP, you kind of group them as a body of work. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to complement each other in a way, but also tell a story or have a feel. Like for example, the last Losers record, How to Ruin Other People's Futures, was very much a vibe.
Yeah,
And it
that's a
wasn't a
rad
good.
album. That's when I first heard of
Thanks.
you
Yeah.
guys. That's why I was so shocked when I found out that you started,
Yeah.
in 2011. I was like, whoa, wow. I didn't even
Hmm.
realize that. I thought it was, closer to 2016, but
Yeah. No, that was. I had that. That was a tough record. And it's quite dark. It's like basically a handbook, guidebook to how to ruin your life and other people's around you. So some of the tracks that we're doing now didn't quite fit on there, even though they were done around the same time. Or and it just goes throughout. We've got like 25, 30 tracks that we've almost completed. And this process, so Losers since the end of January have been releasing a track every 6 weeks, just like
okay.
that. And we grouped together as an EP. So EP1, it's EP2, EP3, EP4. Will that come as a double vinyl? Hopefully, we don't know. Let's see. But we're gonna keep on doing that until we run out of tracks. And with each track, we're going to do a webinar and go and dive into the studio session, bring up all the old stuff that we had in the progression, looking at the people who mixed the track and have them as a guest talk about it. So really
Oh,
give these.
wow.
Then we do a cover, sorry, not a cover of it, a kind of a deconstruction of the tracks, just to reimagine them now as be very playful with them. There's a playlist that goes with them that songs that might have inspired it, or you could do that too, to say thanks for being a great artist, sort of thing. So we give these tracks 6 weeks to live and breathe because they never found a spot on an album. But it just still doesn't mean that they're not good tracks. It just didn't work for that sort of feel or whatever you want to call it. And we're still working on them. It's not like these have been done years ago and we're just getting them out there for just whatever to get them out. It's like it's still in the process of being mixed, and there's little fine tunings here and there. So it's a work in progress, and it's been really exciting for us to release this way, because it's just constantly, sometimes you find when you do a couple of singles, you get the album out, you do a tour, and then you're like, right, what's next? Okay. And then, if the album goes well, you do more tours, blah, blah, blah. But this is just like a living, breathing thing where we're changing. There's going to be a video for each track. So we're working with different artists, and we're also working with people at Decentraland, which is like a blockchain worlds where, we're building a venue where we're going to have it. So you can get in there with your avatar and, look around our studio. The idea is to have stems on a desk where you could solo them, and you can kind of do your own little mix with it. There's going to be a gallery with, the videos, old videos playing, and some of the old stuff that we've been up to. And then, you can walk into a venue, and then we'll be there in some shape or form, playing either the deconstructed tracks that we've done, or a new live set again that we're working on in a digital world. So it's just like there's just stuff happening all the time with it. So it's nice to kind of keep the things moving and keep it fresh for us as well. So yeah, it's been very, very enjoyable experience just to get shit out there. And
are you working? You must be working with some programmers. Like, how do you even start building this like whole virtual world?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know.
Just an idea that's happening.
I'm looking at a computer and it's like, what are you doing, Paul? Should you be here? Should you get back to your analog world, you dinosaur? I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. No, yeah. So we just got friends that are working in that world, yeah. And I've got a guy, Ewan, who's been doing a lot of the branding stuff for the, for the social media. It's just social media. That's so much of a dinosaur I am. The social media.
Those social media.
And so yeah, we've got some great people working with us and helping us along, because I haven't got a clue about it, but I like to see things happen. If I have a crazy idea and it's like, oh yeah, we can probably do that. Like, okay, great, yeah, good.
That's cool. Yeah, you're the first band I've yet to hear doing something like this. Like that's super rad.
Yeah, it's an interesting world out there. Again, I still don't quite understand it, but it's we get a lot of people saying nice things about it. So and it seems to be constantly growing, and anything's possible, if you want to build a butterfly that wants to fly off and take people with you, and then you play a show inside a butterfly in this world, you're like, all right, we'll do it. All right, really? Yeah, do it. Okay.
Wow. So EP1 is out now currently, and then you're going to put a new song out in another few weeks, and then so every 6 weeks you're going to release a song until the next EP's out, and then you set up to 4, and then that's going to be a double EP, or you don't know yet?
We're just going to keep going. Yeah.
Keep going. Okay.
Just keep going. And then, I mean, I always like to get stuff out on vinyl at some point. So if we want to, we could maybe do like a nice little packaging of all the stuff with like all the videos and everything, and the deconstructed tracks or whatever. Put that all together as a nice little package. It could be quite good, So we'll see. There's going to be a lot of artwork and a lot of webinars that are available on YouTube now. You just go to our page and they're all there, so they're about an hour long, and we just talk sometimes about the track, sometimes about life, sometimes but there's a Pro Tools session up there, so it looks kind of like we actually know what we're doing.
That's cool. And you're doing one for every song?
Every song, yeah.
When's the next one supposed to come out? Have you put it together yet?
We have a new track coming out this week, I think. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so it's normally the track. Then it depends on how the process of the other things are going, when people's availability as well, if we want to have a guest. So normally it's within the release of the audio. We'll have like the next week would be the video, then we'll do like a webinar, and then maybe there'll be like a live version of some sort. So over the 4-week period. So yeah, but I can kind of chop and change as to how we feel, and again, if people's availability, if the live version's ready, all that sort of stuff, you know.
Sure.
Uh-huh. But
Awesome. Well,
I think we do like a mailing list every month, just to give people like an update on what's going on, and then I can check it as well, so I know what's going on.
you're on the mailing list.
No,
Oh,
I
that's
get
what I'm
we
supposed
get
to be doing
yeah.
in 2 weeks. That's
Oh God.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Well, Paul, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. Cheers. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah.
I have
Nice
one
one.
more question for you. I want to know if you
Mhm.
have any advice for aspiring artists.
I would say just make mistakes. Be okay with it. You know, try something out. Doesn't work, it's fine. You learn from it. Uh, and then just be yourself. Don't be afraid of that. Don't try and be anyone else. Just do what feels right for you. And if it's coming from you, then and if people get on board, then it's totally genuine and it's totally honest. And if people are into it, they're gonna love it. And there's gonna be no questions asked. So and just people will see that it'll be genuine, and if people don't get it, that's fine as well. It's still you. And you're awesome. I can go and get it.
Bringing it back